Good morning, pop culture. We are live. It is Friday. Yes, finally, it's Friday. Today is July 19th, 2024. It's 10:03 a.m., and it's time to start your favorite morning show here on the Epitome of Pop Culture. So, folks, this has been the end of our first week. It's been a fun week to get started with Good Morning Pop Culture. We've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of laughs. We've made a lot of new friends. We're not going to stop anytime soon. So like I said, folks, this is a way to promote Woke Busters to get more content out there. But what's happening is I'm realizing just how much everybody likes this show and how many people have missed it. So it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside, and it has me inspired to do a lot more to make it the best morning show ever. Good Morning America, you're done. The Today Show, you're done. Kathy Lee and Hoda, I don't think that show's on the air anymore, but you get where I'm going, folks. So today is the end of our first week of Good Morning Pop Culture 3.0, and we're going to start to elevate things a little bit. Maybe we'll get a new set built. We'll do all kinds of stuff for Good Morning Pop Culture, as long as you guys keep on watching it and send it in that love. Yes, it's Friday, bitches. Hello to everybody. Now, let's say hey to the people who are here early, the Workin' and Lurkin' crew. We have Cosmic Vader, Master Marlbros, Kevin Flynn. I'd like to thank you for backing Woke Busters over on Kickstarter right there. Hopefully, Mr. Flynn, you enjoy Stealing Solo as much as I had fun making the book, and I know you're going to love Woke Busters because it's an epic. We also have Clone Geek, Enrique Vasquez, Death the Goat, D. Pensack. What's up, man? Thank you. As always, the Carl you know and love. You are my favorite Carl currently. Carl Winslow has been usurped. But, you know, Uncle Carl was the best. Terry H. Yes, I'm bringing back the P.O. Box. I apologize. I always use GMPC as a way to, let you guys see behind the veil, behind the curtain. Getting home last year from California and finishing Woke Busters, doing, a lot of pages and doing the videos and doing stuff for the channel. That has been something that's always been on the back of my mind, but I haven't had it happen yet. But as soon as I get through the campaign and do a few things like, I don't know, just the campaign, I'll go do it. I know you guys want it. I would love to be able to add to the collection. I have so much stuff that's not even here from you guys. Our pal Salvador has sent me the entire Toy Biz wave of Spider-Man figures. I got so much cool stuff to show. I just don't have the space for it. So let's make this show the #1 pop culture show on the internet. And then I'll buy a giant studio dedicated to this show. So Kevin Flynn again, it's 7 a.m. I was out there. I remember 4:05 in Sweden. There we go. Well, hello to Sweden. Hello to everybody out there. And yes, Scott, Hulkamania is running wild, brother. What a weird world we live in. What's up, Enrique? What a strange world, folks. Hulk Hogan was on the convention last night. And I know, look, it's not the first time a wrestler's talked politics. It's not the only time a wrestler's talked politics. Jesse Ventura was the governor of Minnesota. The Rock had appeared at both the DNC and the RNC in the year 2000 for Smackdown the Vote. This isn't new. But normally when I think politics, I don't think of Hulk Hogan ripping off his shirt, brother. It's bizarre. But Hulk Hogan is amazing. You will never hear Dion or I dump on Hulk Hogan because of what he said in that video. It ain't cool. We're not cool with it. But Hulk Hogan is different, and we love Hulk Hogan. I got the very first Hulk Hogan figure ever up there, the big LJN. Well, no, that's not the first one ever. Excuse me, I misspoke. There are Japanese figures. But I do have the first big WWF rubber figure. I got it at Goodwill for super cheap. It still comes with the title belt and all the paints on it for $8. It's an amazing, amazing figure. Yes, folks, it has been another crazy week here in the world. We just had a Microsoft, what was it? The Microsoft something just went down. I was getting ready. Here we go. Mass IT outages. Is the world coming to an end? I don't know, but I feel like we're on the precipice of something not great. And when I clicked on this article, I got an ad for a lady shaving her bikini line, which I don't have any problem with. It's just kind of weird when I'm reading about a Delta ad. There's a... Never mind. You guys know how this works. So I was getting ready for the show. I shaved. I got ready to do stuff because I have to leave after today's show and go take my mom to the doctor. But I was listening to the news for a minute while I was making my coffee, and they're like, the airport shut down. I'm like, oh God, what happened? And then they're talking about Microsoft and the Windows IT issue. So Let's see what this says real quick. It's a quick article. Several major U.S. airlines, including blah, 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 grounded flights early Friday due to technical issues impacting IT systems. A mass outage disrupted airports, banks, healthcare providers, broadcasters, and businesses around the world. Some 911 centers, as well as IT services of the Paris Olympics, were also affected. Microsoft said it was aware of the issue affecting the Windows program running cybersecurity technology from CrowdStrike. The issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed. Some services appear to be resuming, and American Airlines says it was able to safely reestablish operations. Everything keeps getting crazier in the world right now. Yeah, it's a little late for Y2K. You are right, Mr. V. I remember Y2K very well. The year 2000 was an awesome year, and then it all kind of fell out the next September. We said that last night on the show. For people our age, I always feel like that was like the change in the world. Like the pandemic was just another change, but that was the big one that changed everything for us. Let's see. Yes, Lee, it has been crazy. What up, Enrique? Let's G.M.P.C. Thank you, Suka. Well, I would try to keep it as impeccable as my sideburn. So there we go. You smell what I'm cooking. Yeah, I get Vince Vaughn. I get The Rock. That's okay. It's funny. It's like, hey, you look like this guy. All right. That is fine. I have no problem being associated with that. Now, folks, before we start tonight's show, excuse me, it's the morning here. I can't believe I have the energy to do this. I actually really do like but Good Morning Pop Culture. It's a very one-on-one show. It's fun to me. Yes, Bob Newhart did pass away, RJ. We'll be talking about Bob in just a moment. But everybody keeps asking me, Jeff, when are you going to put up a mug for Good Morning Pop Culture? Here you go. I ordered a sample for myself, so you'll be able to drink coffee with me in the mornings. We have Good Morning Pop Culture on the front, and on the back, we have Workin' and Lurkin' with another little logo right there. So, folks, we use Teespring, so go to shopwcbs.com. You can find all sorts of stuff from us. It's our official store. We have T-shirts. We have the beer glass. We now have the Good Morning Pop Culture mug, and we have fun shirts like Zack Snyder is BS, Aquamilf, Robo Coke Lines of Justice, and the original World Class Bullshitters mug featuring all of our mugs. So, folks, get yourself a vessel to drink coffee out of with my face on it, or the logo of the show. No matter what, we know you'll have a good time with it. I'm drinking out of my Darth Vader mug. I like my coffee on the dark side, and it's got the Star Wars logo underneath, which I'm not going to pour the coffee on myself to show, but that is that. So, folks, we also want to tell you that Woke Busters has moved up a lot. Since we've had our last show, it's moved up like $600. Pretty close to it. Maybe it's over this week. So all I want to say is thank you to everybody. Thank you to people like Kevin Flynn and all the wonderful backers. There's only 9 days left. Next Sunday is when this ends. So tomorrow, I'm going to be getting up and doing a very long telethon stream. You guys can join me. You can hang out with me. You can call in. We have a phone number. I'm going to show that phone number right now. Leave a voicemail for me. I actually want to hear the voicemails. This is not a joke number. You will hear the real Woke Busters in action as they fight a monster, and then you'll be able to leave me a voicemail, which I'll listen to, and we'll read it on air. We'll talk about it a little later. But I want to bring in a call-in section and make this show a lot of fun for everybody. Of course, we're on the honor system and everything, so just be excellent to each other about what you say on the air. But I really don't need to tell you guys that because I'm very fortunate. Our audience is respectable themselves, and all around pretty awesome. So I'm really happy that you guys are the way you are. So thank you. Now, let me make sure I look at the notes so I don't miss anything real quick. Yeah, let's start off today's show like we always do with On This Day. And yes, I'm going to get a damn button for that with Edge's theme song. So July 19th is a hell of a day for films. Let me type in, let me get you an image real quick because you guys need some stuff to look at while we talk about this. But this day in history is probably one of the craziest days in cinematic releases. There are so many big movies that were released on July 19th, according to the numbers. And this graphic I'm about to show is just a nice, milieu of other images. But here we go. It's close enough to the 4th of July. We're all cool with the red, white, and blue, the Spider-Man colors, Superman colors, all those colors. Oh, by the way, folks, I went down to the Superman set this morning. Yes, I went down to Union Terminal and I saw all the trucks. I saw the lights. I even got some footage of stuff. This was before they were even filming. This was early with the crew setting up, but I've seen the trailers. I've seen all the stuff. I've been to the set. I will release the videos out on Twitter. They're really nothing. It's just kind of like, hey, check this out. But I am going back this afternoon. So if I see Superman, I'm probably going to ruin a take because I'm going to go screaming, "It's Superman!" And, see if I can make it into the movie. It won't, but it's funny. So, guys, on this day, let's take it back. Let's take it all the way back to 2003 because we're going to read almost all of the movies today. On this day in 2003, we had two big films release. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, which is my personal favorite of the franchise, and Bad Boys 2. Now, Pirates of the Caribbean beat Bad Boys by quite a bit. Pirates of the Caribbean made $305 million. Bad Boys made $136 million, but they're both pretty awesome movies, and one's an R-rated action film, and the other is the beginning of a franchise. It's one of the few Disney movies of the new millennium that I will go and say that was a very good movie. I've watched it multiple times, and I really like it. Now, I don't like the second or the third one or the fourth or the fifth one. I haven't seen those. Fourth and fifth. I've seen second and third, but I don't really like it as a brand. Like, if somebody's like, let's watch Pirates of the Caribbean 2, I'd rather leave. I don't really like it after the first one. But we're not talking about what I don't like. Also, too, moving ahead, this day, and we're going to save the big one for last. On this day in 2011, we got Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. We also got The Conjuring in 2013. In 2014, we got Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. In 2015, we got Minions and Ant-Man. Ant-Man brought in 180 domestically. Minions brought in 336 domestically. And it's kind of funny because we're in the cycle of a new Minions movie, aka Despicable Me 4. The only thing I really think of or like about Despicable Me 4 are the few songs that have come out from it. Happy by Pharrell's a pretty catchy song. Plus, how can you not want to be happy and clap your hands? It's a positive song. And then the new one from Part 4 is surprisingly good. I just have the instrumental on my Google Music account, but I have fun listening to it. Also, in 2019, we had the Lion King remake, which made $543 million. Not really a fan of any live-action Disney remake. And I saw a really good video the other day talking about how the Lion King or all Disney live-action remakes really appeal to people. They're from people my age that are trying to take their kids in, and kids don't really like it. And the video was talking about some anecdotal evidence, but they talked about how they showed it at a party, and the adults were into the movie, and the kids left very early on. They weren't interested in a remake of an old movie that they have no attachment to. So it goes to show you that some of these work, but overall you damage your brand, and they keep making less. The Little Mermaid barely broke even. For all the culture war talk about that movie last year, where did it go? For all the people that wanted to blindly defend it and yes, queen it, where were you? Why didn't it make $1 billion like Barbie? Because Barbie is on brand. If Amy Schumer's ass played Barbie, that movie wouldn't have made all the money. You would have had feminists come out and defend it and all these other people going on, oh, it's so great. But guess what? Barbie would have flopped. And maybe it should have. But let me pull up the image for the movie that we're going to talk about that was released on this day. Something that changed everything. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, folks. I know it sounds crazy to say that one movie could have such an impact, but that is not impossible. Every generation has an impactful movie that changes everything. In the 70s, you had Jaws and Star Wars. Jaws invented the blockbuster, but Star Wars perfected it. And not only did Star Wars perfect that, it changed the way movies were marketed, merchandised, and everything moving forward. It almost feels kind of pure to talk about Star Wars merchandise, but everything else kind of feels like a product when you get into it. But then in the 80s, you had your Back to the Futures, you had Goonies, you had so many great iconic films. In the 90s as well. But as we get to the 2000s, the important iconic films start to stretch out a little bit. Spider-Man from 2002 is a very impactful film. And we move forward, and less become, impactful outside of Lord of the Rings and a few. But we have this film to talk about today. That back on this day in 2008, and I can tell you exactly where I was in the theaters watching this one, The Dark Knight was released on this day, July 19th, 2008. Now, this film is great. I have said a lot of stuff about it over the years. It's not my favorite Batman movie at all. It is my third favorite Batman movie. I prefer 89 and Begins or tied. I feel like I'm betraying myself when I say I like Batman Begins more than I like Batman 89. But I don't know. Honestly, they both hit in a different way. Batman 89 makes me feel like a kid. It's exciting. I like the way it's paced. But the Batman Begins, Batman, not Buttman. This ain't Howard Stern. Batman Begins inspires some hope. So you know how at the end of Batman '89 he looks off into the distance and the bat signal player shows and they have that bell dinging and all that, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I love that. But I kind of just like to think of that movie in a bubble where that is it. And Batman goes off and has more adventures. I don't like Batman Returns, and I never have. But The Dark Knight is good, but Batman Begins, it has this sense of hopefulness. Batman beats was it not Maroni in that one, but he beats the couple of bad guys and he stops Ra's al Ghul in the League of Shadows and Gotham is saved. But then the Joker card pops up and you're like, oh my God. And he's like, I'll look into it. And he swings away and all that stuff. And you're just kind of pumped for what comes next. And what came next is, for some people, the best movie ever made or best superhero movie ever made. But it's a damn good follow-up. And the reason I talk about how impactful this movie is think of it like this, folks. You're all old enough to remember the early 2000s. Everything was a dark, gritty reboot. This movie right here is the reason why. This film was the first superhero film to gross $1 billion. It had a re-release in January of 2009, which I was in college for. We're like, let's go to see The Dark Knight again. I said, let's drink and watch it on Blu-ray because I was that guy early on. But we also have another film I missed. Oh, Hunter, I'll have to go back and look at that in just a second because I got a lot of shit to say about that movie. Mr. V thinks Batman Begins is overall the best movie in the trilogy. Folks in the chat, let me know what you think is the best Bat film in that trilogy. I'm going to go Begins as well. But The Dark Knight introduced the dark, gritty aspects to superhero movies, which everything tried to copy, like The Amazing Spider-Man. But it also won Oscars. It had great effects, great visuals. It still looks great. My only critique of this film is if you watch it on disc, the IMAX to the regular shots are very jarring to me. I don't like that. All the IMAX stuff looks great on my TV, but when I go and watch the other scenes, you feel like you're really in there. And the contrast doesn't work for me. I really don't feel like I'm in a close, space, feeling claustrophobic, and then jumping into something big and grand. The aspect ratio jumps, and I'm like, oh, whatever. But this movie changed everything, and still to this day is considered the best Batman movie. Now, the follow-up is one of the most disappointing follow-ups in a long time, but I gotta ask you guys, is it because The Dark Knight Rises is that bad of a movie, or is it because the temperature of the room changed? Because like The Dark Knight was impactful in 2008, you had the Avengers in 2012 take everyone's attention away from Batman. The Dark Knight Rises made almost as much as the Avengers. It was a hit. But it's kind of looked back on as a joke movie, like with Bane and all the other shit that comes from it. I enjoy it, but I don't really want to watch it. And on Prime Day, I didn't even buy the Batman trilogy. It was like $29 on 4K. And I thought to myself, I love one of these movies and I like the rest. I'll stick with the Blu-rays. Let's see. Jason Evangelista, thank you for being a member, my friend. He says, I remember this day. I left DC Warner Brothers when The Dark Knight was released. The Dark Knight became my #1 Batman movie. But, we're waiting on the big but. The Batman may be the best Batman movie ever. Or your best one. The Batman is a fine movie that I need to rewatch to give a stronger opinion on. But the thing I enjoyed about it was the music. The music of The Batman is the best since the Tim Burton, Danny Elfman, well, Tim Burton didn't do the music, but you know what I mean. The Danny Elfman score for '89. That do. It's just such a basic few notes that repeats over, but that introduction where, and I don't know why I'm doing this, you can see what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the camera, the camera's here and we're looking down here. That's a look inside of my comic book brain. Good morning, Raging Rhino. But that shot that shows them looking into the building where the Riddler is and the music plays. I love that. It was so atmospheric. It was very much the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman brought to life. Court of Owls, the New 52 Batman. Good. I just haven't watched it in 2 years and haven't really thought about it much. I'm not saying I'm out of Batman, but I don't Batman's right here on the shelf. So we'll just put him on the computer and we'll talk about his movie. Reese says, Batman was good because the chick who played Catwoman, the rest was ass. Just like the Angry Nerd says. I enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises, but it isn't a great movie. Dark Knight Rises is the Spider-Man 3 of that trilogy. Ooh, them's fighting words, but I don't disagree. However, Spider-Man 3 is great if you just watch the Spider-Man scenes. if you can just cut out all the other part, you're watching the best Spider-Man movie. Just the action, the crane scene. Well, the train scene from two's better. Two's better. Sorry, Spider-Man 2 hasn't been topped ever from Spider-Man. That's the thing. That's the hill I'll die on. So, folks, that was on this day. And according to one of our listeners in the chat, Aliens was released on this day as well in 1986, which is another great film. Folks, next month here on the channel is Alien Month. We will be doing all sorts of films in honor of Alien, because we're going to be watching Alien Romulus. I'll be going to the theater to check that one out, just like I did Twisters. And, I liked that one. I gotta say, this year's been interesting for movies. Beverly Hills Cop 4 was awesome. Twisters was pretty damn good. I'm drawing a blank at other movies, but Madam Web was fun for all the wrong reasons. Hulk Hogan is a washed-up traitor. Hey, everyone's entitled to your opinion. I'm not even going to try to argue with you. I just think it's bizarre when you watch politics that you see Hulk Hogan, his 70-year-old ass, up there ripping his shirt off like it's 1986. I do think Hulk Hogan is the most patriotic wrestler of all time, over Sergeant Slaughter, over anybody, because Real American and the flag, it was like Rocky IV. I wasn't alive during this Cold War, the end of the Cold War, where Americana was high, but you can't not understand it. It's very cut and dry. People were proud to be Americans. There was an external threat. We don't have that anymore. My generation didn't have that big of an external threat. We had, the Berlin Wall went down in 89. I was born in 88. And yeah, you had like Gulf Storm, but that was a very short skirmish. You had Saddam and other people, but SNL really played him up as such a joke. So growing up as a kid in South Park, man, they cut the legs out from Saddam Hussein. As a child, I just thought, I got he was the bad guy, but I thought he was so stupid. I'm like, why are we worried about this guy? So that was just my childlike brain. But not until I was a little older did we have another external threat. But, we're not going to go into that. The early 2000s were very ugly. Politically, they are again, too. That's what I want to do with this show, is to have everybody have a good time. But that doesn't mean you can't give your opinions. I'm not going to tell you to, keep your shit to yourself. I don't care. You're here for me. Let's have fun together. Love reading everybody's opinions on these movies. Spider-Man 1 is still a great movie. Really a good movie. I had it on the other night. Ooh, Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. Great assets. Yes, very. Anne Hathaway, like Natalie Portman, she seems very unlikable, but she's very pretty. So take that the way it is. I don't know what I would say to Anne Hathaway if I met her. Hi, nice to meet you. And I'm fake shaking her hand. I don't want to meet any of these people, man. I'd rather hang out with you guys. 86 was a dope year. I'll have to look into what came out in 86. 85 is one of my favorite years in film. 84. 87 has a couple good hits. 88 has a couple good hits. Every year in the 80s has great movies. I'd say 85. So people that are slightly older than me say 84 or 82, because you got in 84 you had Terminator and why am I drawing a Temple of Doom and a couple other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But then 82 had The Thing and E.T. and Blade Runner. 84 also had Gremlins, I think. And those are all great movies, but Back to the Future and The Goonies and Fletch all came out in 1985. So I would love to just stick with those movies. And folks, next year, Nick and I are heading out to Astoria, Oregon. We're going to go see the... sorry, folks, I'm trying to turn off the Wi-Fi here so we can get things rolling. But crap. We're going to go out to the Goonies. Hey, we got more people back in Woke Busters. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're 43% of the way there. I know it sounds crazy to have so much optimism, but I have that much faith in the product. Well, let me rephrase it. In the story. This isn't a product. This is the culmination of 3 years of hard work and looking at the world from what I think is an objective lens to make fun of all of it. Let's see. I keep checking in with the chat as I'm unplugging my Roku in here. I got a smart TV in the living room. I loved Late Night with the Devil. That was my favorite movie of the year so far. I need to buy it. I want to buy the absolute deluxe edition. Child Jeff was right. Crazy how the intelligence and of a child can be more. Thank you, thank you. I just watched a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff. I was very plugged in at an early age, but I still had all the childlike wonder and fun that everybody else had. I was outside playing with Power Rangers. I had a costume, the White Ranger. I wore that every day for a year because I was a big kid, still a giant now. But back then, I was 5 and I was the size of an adult, and I needed an extra large costume, and they had no extra larges except this one time we went to Toys R Us and they had one, and it was the White Ranger, my favorite. And I'm like, Mom! And it came in this weird triangle box, like a big one, and it had the face in the front and the suit. She's like, Of course. And I never forget, we got it at the Toys R Us in Eastgate, and we came back and I put it on, and she's like, All right, you got to eat dinner now, so take it off so you don't get stuff on it. But I had the Saba and the gloves and the suit, and I went to see the movie in that costume. I loved Power Rangers. That was my favorite. Sorry, folks, if I had a lull. I'm trying to read the chat. Hunter says 82 and 84. The 80s were great. Dairy Queen had Nerds Blizzards. Ooh, that sounds tasty. I was just thinking how that would be, the tangy and the sweet. Personally, all the Spider-Man were only decent organic webs. Cool Peter, Iron Man groupie. Yeah, they were all rough. I understand your critique of the organic web shooters that came from the James Cameron script. I don't disagree, but I also don't care enough because the only thing you would get out of that would be the whole trope of, oh no, I'm out of web fluid. Ah! And they wrote it into part 2. And in the comic itself, he does go through some psychological stuff in issue 50, which is what Spider-Man 2 is based on. So that is why I don't really have the issue. Be like the suit looks great. It looks like a modern day matrixized version of the John Romita costume. The score is epic. Spider-Man's a hero. Tobey Maguire was nerdy enough, but cool enough. I don't like Andrew Garfield's movies. I don't like Tom Holland's movies, but I enjoy the classic ones. I can't believe Spider-Man's considered a classic. It's not that old, is it? I saw it in theaters a bunch. Yeah, a lot of you guys are going to be too old for Power Rangers. Trebles 08 was the perfect age for Power Rangers. It was just the perfect balance of fun, action, and a little bit of violence. I really, really loved it. I don't have anything but good feelings towards it. That's why next year I will do Christmas 93. I wanted to do the story because I was like, well, my mom's getting up there in age. I want to make sure she sees it and lets people, like, it's more for her, not, trying to sell it. But this Mark Hamill stuff is really poignant right now. And she even said, like, honey, why don't you wait? I'll be around. And she's like, do your other one. So that's why I'm doing Stealing Solo too, because it's the perfect time. Star Wars is out of touch. It's irrelevant. But all these celebrities who say stupid crap during an election year, well, that's what you're definitely going to want to read about, right? This story is not influenced by Mark Hamill's recent political jabs or jibes, if you will, but it is inspired by his jealousy of Harrison Ford and a whole lot more. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And I want to tell you the cover. It's riffing on what you hate the most out of The Last Jedi. That's all I will tell you. Good old coffee. Oh, caffeinated wolf. I love you, man. We have fun debating Spider-Man movies. What we need to do is maybe for a stream, just maybe if we ever hang out, well, when we hang out in person, we should just put on all the Spider-Man movies and just go to town reviewing, critiquing, tearing them apart, what we like, what we don't like. I don't take anything personally. It's just a movie. Now, the first Spider-Man movie did influence me, but, taste is subjective. Now, let's see. I wonder why Star Wars is out of touch. Well, the lady at the top is out of touch. Kathleen Kennedy is not a good president of a company. Dave Filoni is a phony. Raise your hand if you ever thought Dave Filoni was the savior of Star Wars. Yeah, I don't hear anybody here or see anybody here either. I'm alone. Sorry, sometimes I say stupid shit that makes me chuckle and I'm like laughing at myself because it's so stupid. I liked the Green Goblin better in the movie outside of the design than in the comics. I did love Willem Dafoe. I don't need a big brick shithouse Norman Osborn that looks like Tommy Lee Jones or has those cornrow braids or whatever. I know the hairstyle's not cornrow braids. It's a very distinct curl because I've learned how to draw that texture. You draw like the gridded line. You draw like the hairline in a V, then you draw like these lines where the hair rows would go, and then you draw another line for where it would like cage it in like a fence, and then you just kind of, do these little tight curl things in there, and that's how you get that hair effect. Same with Woke Busters. When I was drawing myself, I'm like, I have a weird haircut, or not a weird haircut, a weird hair texture. I don't have a fro. Like people would draw stuff or assume that. No, I'm not really black. So I had to like go in with one part and do the sideburns colored in, and then the hair would go in like this with the brush, and then I would block off the top part, and I would just do these tight little curls, and then do like a gradient to match this where the fade is, and it actually looked pretty cool. That's the thing I like. I do like inking. With Stealing Solo 2, the inking is going to be a bigger part of a lot of that. The Iron Cheeks Twitter is necro posting about the Hulk Hogan RNC appearance. I gotta look at it. I love the Sheik, man. Sheiky baby, R.I.P. You were the greatest. So let's see. I used to get into fights with Filoni sycophants. Thank you. Those guys, Filoni is right. I like the Clone Wars. I didn't give Rebels a shot after the first 2 episodes. Whenever I saw the lightsaber helicopter, I was like, this isn't for me. I'm too old. And I stand by it. I just don't. I'm 35. I'm not going to watch too many kids shows and like really try to break them down. That's why, like, when certain Disney things come out, I think it's kind of silly to go on about it. Because one, I don't have kids, so it's not on my radar. And then on top of it, a grown man complaining about a movie for little girls. Like, that's why when I do the toy videos, I never go to the girls section. I am not an expert on those things. I do not know the distribution, the marketing, the production, the cost per 1,000 units, all that stuff. I know that about the shit I talk about. Maybe we have a very refined, small corner, but you love those toy videos, and more will be here. And I told you too, I'm going to start going to toy stores around the country. The biggest one in the area wants to have me. I got contacted by another one that's in the west side of town, and then one that's closer to Dayton agreed to be on this show as well. And you're going to see me go around the world with this. This is exciting. I'm going to be creating series instead of just always being, responding to stuff or making reaction. I don't really make reaction videos outside of trailers, but I'm going to be more proactive in what I want to bring you guys. So follow me as I go around the world and see some really cool stuff. I never liked the Clone Wars. I think Ahsoka, as an idea, broke a lot of Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll be honest, and I'll stay on focus because I'm wired on coffee. The last couple days and tomorrow's telethon are all powered by. I drink Bailey's Irish Cream Coffee. I was about to say Folgers, but they're not a sponsor of this show. Maybe I can get the Quarterings Coffee to sponsor Good Morning Pop Culture. We'll do a whole thing about it. I'll promote the coffee. Is he still doing the coffee? I don't watch a lot of other people's videos. Sorry. But what was I saying? Sorry, I get distracted because I'm tired. I don't think Dave Filoni did a great job with any of his stuff. And I think I've overlooked a lot of the things that, not the anachronisms, well, contradictory moments in the Clone Wars because I liked it and I really wasn't feeling the prequel trilogy. In 99, I didn't like Phantom Menace. In 2002, I didn't like Attack of the Clones, but in 05, I liked Revenge of the Sith a lot. But I also only saw it in theaters. I never owned it on physical media until I got the box set on Blu-ray. And that's the only time I've ever purchased the prequels. And that's the last time I purchased the Star Wars trilogy because it's the last time it was released under George Lucas. Now the changes are stupid. They bother me. I'm not going to act like everything. Actually, here's a hot take for Star Wars since you get me talking about it. I don't think George Lucas even knew what to do after a certain point. That first movie is amazing and perfect. Empire is somebody else's movie for the most part, and that's amazing and perfect. And Return of the Jedi is pretty damn good. But that's it for me. Those series of movies and everything that comes outside of them, from books to video games, comic books, all that stuff, toys, that never stopped being cool or appealing to me. What did stop, though, however, is my love of the property, because the prequels are fine. I don't dislike them at all. But this new stuff is bad. And, after so many years of disappointing, returns and stuff, what do you do? What do you say? Ooh, little Anakin was worse than Jar Jar. Yeah. I'm embarrassed to say it, but there's a scene in The Phantom Menace that makes me laugh every time when Jar Jar accidentally eats the thing in front of Sebulba and he's got to pay and he goes whoopee whoopee. Just that delivery makes me chuckle every time. It's stupid, but it's funny. I would have liked to have seen George Lucas let Steven Spielberg direct the prequels. Could you imagine Steven Spielberg? Because he has the power to tell George, no, George, this doesn't work. We would have had a much better series of films. And dare I say, they could have been as good as the originals. I think Steven Spielberg, too, being such a big fan of the first Star Wars and being a better filmmaker, there's no doubt about it. Lucas may have made Star Wars, but Star Wars was made in the editing room. I don't even think George Lucas knew how to get that out. And that is why I kind of respect him, though, more after doing Wokebusters, because I feel like I'm yelling into a void or really trying to convey what this story is about. And it's kind of hard because a lot of people think it's like making fun of the female Ghostbusters. There's that cover, but it's based on the X-Men, which I don't think enough people know about. There's a famous mutant book, the X-Men, excuse me. Days of Future Past is an iconic cover with Wolverine and Kitty Pryde and all the X-Men that have been killed or captured. And I thought it would be funny to riff on that. That's why I did that one. But it's more about the world we live in. You know how everyone gets offended and they just become assholes? Well, in this story, they become monsters and they're like, we got to stop these people. So I think a lot of people think it's like dunking on the left or women or this and that. No, not at all. It's kind of like how Twisters avoids the climate change. Wokebusters makes fun of this stuff without actually having those tropes in its story. It's a very cut and dry, good guys versus bad guys. The bad guys happen to be bright and colorful, and the good guys happen to be wearing, old beer uniforms, excuse me, because we have enough money to get a loan and we have enough money to cover our equipment, but we end up buying this brewery because Dion's enamored by the real estate agent. She's busty, and Dion's like, yeah, we'll take it, and it's a piece of shit, and we're kind of hosed, but we do what we make do with what we have, and it works. You get the Ghostbusters visual out of it. Oh, let's see what else we're talking about here. Spielberg is a better actor, director. He can bring more out of an actor's performance. I agree. I really agree with that. I am not a Steven Spielberg acolyte, but his great movies are hard to debate. Now, I do debate if E.T. is actually a great movie. I had never seen it. I refused to watch it for years, and then I went over to a friend's house. I was staying with my friend out in Seattle for Emerald City Comic Con this past year, and she goes, let's show each other movies that are important to us that we may not have seen. And I picked something really weird because all of my favorites she had seen. She's older than me, so she's seen the classics. She knows Raiders. She knows the Star Wars movies. She knows shit like Hot Fuzz or random crap. Like, she knows all the Kevin Smith movies. So it was a lot of fun to talk about what we knew, but it was like, what do I show her? So I showed her Return of the Living Dead, which is my favorite zombie movie. And she showed me E.T. And E.T. is exactly what I thought it would be. Saccharine bullshit. Okay, it wasn't that bad. I just didn't feel anything. I have seen better kid movies. The Goonies is better in every way than E.T. And I know Spielberg produced it. He didn't direct it. But why didn't anyone tell Steven Spielberg that E.T. looked like a turd? Why do they continue to make him look like a dried out dog turd when he gets sick? It's not an attractive design. I want to know what kids in 1982 were smoking, because you guys had Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. There were other movies. Tron, I think, came out in 82 as well. Why didn't Tron make as much money as E.T.? Tron's better. Tron is a cool movie, and I loved the sequel. But E.T. just wasn't it for me, man. Like, the kids' performances were fine. The kids, Drew Barrymore's Drew Barrymore. The mom's fine. But I don't really get the appeal of it. Like, it is a kid, I wouldn't have liked it either, because it lacked the physical conflict that I like in my entertainment. Indiana Jones was smart, but he fought with his fists. Lightsaber duels may be a physical embodiment, but they're also something a little deeper. I need a good blend of that. I have that in my stories, and I'll continue to put that in my stories because I think that is the key to what makes these things stick around. We like the flippy-dippy bullshit of episodes 1 and 3's lightsaber duels, but it's episodes 5 and 6 that people go, oh yeah, those are the real ones. I get it, they're all fake. But people really get into that because of the emotion attached with, each lightsaber swing isn't about looking cool. It's about self-defense and good versus evil and a greater threat. Like, Obi-Wan's just keeping Darth Vader busy so they can escape. And like, well, I'm old. It's time to die. Luke is fighting for his life. He's a novice. And Darth Vader's just playing with him. He gets one good hit in. Boom, there goes his hand. It's gone. Bye-bye. And then we get to Return of the Jedi, where Luke has to tap into the darkness and the evil to overcome Darth Vader, but then throw it all away. What a great scene. Admittedly, I cheer every time Luke does the 1, 2, 3, boom, and he cuts his hand off. I'm like, yeah. It's a cathartic moment for me. It's a very cathartic moment for me. Yes, actually, Marshall Lucas is probably more responsible for Star Wars being a hit than other people, because that movie was different in the editing room. I've actually been on many streams with Richard Chu, who edited Star Wars, who has an Oscar for it. That was a really fucking cool experience. And he's a nice guy, too. Long story short, that movie is completely different. There's a great video on YouTube that explains what was edited and how it was changed. Originally, the way they shot it, they just fly to the Death Star. They're just going. They just kind of like attack it in the middle of nowhere. The editing added in the countdown and the standby alert, Death Star approaching, estimated time to fire range 15. It's 15 minutes. And it's kind of like 15 real minutes, and it's edited together perfectly. Originally, too, Luke had 2 different runs. It was all different. It's the editing that made that movie. And Marcia Lucas got the Oscar. George didn't. Now, I've heard stories that she cheated on him and all that crap, and fuck her. But she is responsible for that movie being what it is. And you got to give credit where credit's due. I, too, agree that Darth Maul shouldn't have come back. I kind of like when these characters die. And I'm also a fan of Peter Serafinowicz, not Sam Witwer. But I don't dislike the guy. I have a very strong attachment to the other one. E.T. had a wider appeal. I enjoyed Star Wars, E.T., Tron, Star Trek, etc. Some people only liked one of those. The numbers of people that liked E.T. as that one was just more. That's a good way to look at it, track media only. Also, too, I do think it's an age thing. The only time I saw my dad cry was in E.T. in a theater. Well, he had tears in his eyes. That's a cool story. I never want to dump on people's movies. Andrew in the chat has a strong connection to the prequels, and that is what it's about, going to see movies with people. Now, my grandma took me to go see episode 1, and it was cool. She didn't like Star Wars, but she's like, Jeffrey, I know you want to go see this movie. So she just took me to go see it, and she never talked about it again, but she took me to go see episode 1, and it was fun. It was exciting. It was a great year for movies overall. But I think and then I saw the next 2 by myself. I was 13, so I was old enough to go to them, be dropped off at the movie. Hell, I did it early. When I was like 11 or 12, I would ride my bike to the bargain theater. I'd take a couple dollars that I had, and I'd go see movies all day. That's how I saw the Fast and Furious. I paid to go see Tomb Raider. I hated it, and I walked out mid-movie, and then I went and watched Fast and Furious. And I'm guilty of this, folks. I was a Fast and Furious bro. I was one of those kids that thought the import cars were cool. I played the video games. I played, Need for Speed Underground and Hot Pursuit's different. I played Midnight Club. I played all those. My neighbor was big into that shit too. Yeah, Hunter, I've heard that comment about Marcia having affairs with those guys. Not cool. Not cool. What else we got, people? I know. Here's the thing, folks. I'm kind of treating this morning's Good Morning Pop Culture. It's a week in review, and admittedly, I have to take care of business. I got to take my mom to the doctor and stuff, so we don't have too much longer of a show. We could go till 11:15, so we can do another half hour. Oh man, guilty of seeing The Force Awakens 6 times. You shot it 6 times. I saw it once in theaters. Once for a drunk commentary on the channel, and we tried to do it once for a weekend live stream, and I turned it off. I can't ever again. That's the one that made Stealing Solo a thing, because I hate that fucking movie. Like, look, the book starts out a long time ago in a cinema far, far away, and this is me going to see The Force Awakens and how much I hated it. I actually wore that exact jacket. And it did fuck with me for a while, too. I was not happy when I saw that movie. You know what, though? That's not a judgment. Believe me, we all have movies that we think are awesome or buy into. My movie shelf's not up here. I did buy a new shelf on Prime Day, so I'll be able to put all my Blu-rays and 4Ks up, and maybe we'll do some fun stuff. But no, that's the thing, folks. You like a movie in the moment, it means a lot. It brings back memories. We've all been there. I think I liked Spider-Man 3 when it first came out. Or it took me 3 tries to watch it and realize I didn't like. Okay, I saw it in theaters 3 times. Then I bought it on DVD twice. I got the basic edition and the deluxe edition because I wanted one came with a mask and something else, and then the other one was just the double disc set. And then after I watched it on the way home from one of my trips from Michigan State, I was like, yeah, this movie's not that good. And I never really watched it again. outside of, um, outside of a couple times. Thank you, that OG gamer. I appreciate that. Yes, folks, we have 5 boxes of Stealing Solo, the original edition. What's the original edition? It's the cover that looks like the toy box, which I don't need to pull out right now. You know what the book looks like. But the Phantom Menace edition, there are like 30-something copies. But this one has all the bonus stuff in the back, like all the, us as action figures. Like, see, folks, we start out as vintage-style figures, and then for this re-release, remaster, I turn us into the Buff Power of the Force 2 figures. And I even have Kendo in the green screen costume based on the buff Luke Skywalker and the original Luke Skywalker. My work has a lot of meta stuff in it. And I even do like the back cover. Like, this is how the original back covers looked, and then these are how the 90s ones looked. I even have that with Wokebusters. We have the toy variant cover, which is a lot of fun. I got to get back to work in the week, so make sure you got 5 copies of Stealing Solo left. Been wanting it bad. Gonna buy copies for my family. Scott, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. I'm loving the love that book has brought. It's crazy. Something I've done has just kept on going and going and going. And I hope you guys like the sequel as much as I know you're going to. It's crazy. Mark Hamill in that one is like a nut bar. Much more than he is in real life. And like I said, I wrote this before he said that shit last week. This is not a political response to a political statement. This is a, hey man, what would be funny? And that's it. How long did he realize Boldy Maguire wasn't a great choice at the time? Like part 3? I didn't like that part 3. But you got to remember, folks, Peter Parker is meant to be an earnest guy. He's not meant to be a flashy, cocky guy. And Tobey Maguire played that well. And, Sam Raimi is a John Romita fan like me. He's basing his Spider-Man off of that classic era. That is what I like. The 1960s through 1980s Spider-Man. And I've read it all. Have I read every issue of Spider-Man? No, there's a window of time from about 1996 to 2000. No, 1996 to 1999. Well, no. Let's just call it even. I've read every issue of The Amazing Spider-Man up through 2013's big time. Whenever Spider-Man became Tony Stark, that's when I gave up on it. But I've read all those books. And I've committed a lot of that stuff to memory for fun. But that's why we do comics and stuff. It's all right. Caffeinated Wolf asks, what does a copy that remind me? Does a copy of that come with the biggest tier of Wokebusters? I don't remember what was in there. I just hit back. Well, thank you very much for that blind support. You were the first person. There is a version that has all 4 covers, which is the action cover featuring us busting out of the logo. Then there's the logo cover. There's the Days of Wokeness Past and the toy variant. So I believe you bought that one, my friend. But there is the big deluxe Jeff Hicks edition that has everything I've ever done. So, and I have this put aside for the Stealing Solo stuff, but you can get the Phantom Menace edition. That's 4 books. The Stealing Solo, 2 copies of Tits and Art, and then all copies of Wokebusters. So you get, 11 books? You can get that deluxe edition. And remember, those high tiers get autographs and stuff in those books. And if you even want to get a little remark, I'll draw you a picture too. But thank you for backing me, Andrew. I appreciate that, man. Folks, support independent comic creators. We are fighting against the system, as they say. Look, we're fighting against a really stupid juggernaut. They put out crappy books. I respect the artists that work on those books. You get some really good-looking comics, so I'm not going to try to dunk on those guys. I respect them. But the writing, it's like anybody and their mom can write a comic book if they're kind of famous or kind of connected, and they all suck. Like, why did CM Punk write Thor? Because he's CM Punk. Was it a good book? No. I'll tell you this, though. I've always told the story how I met him and he was an asshole to me. I would work on a comic with him because it would be a good experience. I'm not silly like that. Scott, if you want that set, that is on the the Kickstarter right now. When are we getting Ass as an art book? Well, I could do the Book of Booty. I can do a lot with the Book of Booty, honestly. I want to be a very diverse artist. I don't want to be known as a smut guy, and I don't want to be known as a Star Wars guy. I kind of want to just be known as a guy that can do it all. And Tits and Art was a fun little experiment to prove to myself I could do something and be different. And people like that book out in public. Like, women buy it more than men. They're like, ooh. I've had moms buy it for their kids, and that was weird, but it's a parent. So it's like, that's their choice. This is just a book. It's art. It's not graphic. It's funny. Like, I have a Joker girl taking a selfie, the killing stroke. Come on, that's just very tongue-in-cheek. But yes, it is called The Book of Booty, and that is the title. Because there could be tits and art too. There can be tons of these things. You got to remember, folks, it's all about what you guys want, and also what I want to make too. I don't live and die by that. With YouTube, it's a little different, but with the art, it is my thing. And, I'm lucky that you guys like it. I'm glad that you guys like the stories. I'm glad that you guys like us, what we do here on YouTube. It's been 9 years almost, and it's a great time. Yes, tasteful artistic nudity. We show nips, we show bush, but it's artistic. Let's see, the 80s Spider-Man movie. If there was an 80s Spider-Man movie, Michael J. Fox is Peter Parker, Molly Ringwald is Mary Jane, and Rutger Hauer is Green Goblin. There was, and you want Bob Hoskins as Doc Ock. Okay, so there's a video on YouTube about unmade Spider-Man movies, and that 80s version sounded awesome. I watched the video on it, and I went, this is the great unmade Spider-Man movie. Like, he goes to David Letterman to get famous and all this stuff. It would have been great back in the 80s if we would have had the effects to do it. I do think you could have done a Spider-Man movie in the 90s without too much CGI. And I think if you make it today, you should do a lot more guy in front of a green screen for the web shooting, or find a way to make it look a little realistic. Because as much as I'm cool with the Tom Holland movies, the way they ended, I don't think Spider-Man swinging has the right weight behind him. Even in the first one, I feel like he looks like a man swinging around, the way the gravity affects his body. Nowadays, they just kind of look like little cartoon characters flipping around. That isn't how it would look to me. So I like my CGI a little more realistic. But I agree, Michael J. Fox would have been a great Peter Parker. Also, too, though, take into account, folks, Peter Parker's not as tiny as Michael J. Fox. I think we think that Spider-Man is a little guy. He's listed as 5'10", which is an average size. Michael J. Fox is 5'4", 5'5", maybe. So he is a smaller guy. Also take into account, too, the other superheroes are supposed to be like my size. So when I stand next to a guy that's 5'10", he doesn't look very big. He's kind of scrawny. Like, he comes up to here on me, and I'm just like, hey, actually, you're going to talk. If you're under 6 feet tall, I just don't talk to you. That's a joke. I wouldn't talk to many people at all. That would be horrible. Pokemon. Yeah, it's Pokemon Fan 18. I'm glad you like those videos. I got more in the hopper right now. If you wanted to be the smut guy, you could make that a trilogy. Oh man, you wouldn't just stop with 3 art books. You would do an annual release. Vinny Tartamella does a pretty cool art book. I got his over here under my Jack Kirby stack. And yes, I keep a Jack Kirby stack. It's funny. You talk about booty, and everybody in the chat starts going, I love heart-shaped asses. The Book of Booty sounds like the story of my life. Mine too, man. Sometimes it has a happy ending. Scott says I'm 6'5". Little people are cute. I'm 6'5" as well, Scott. So welcome to the club. It's funny. People would say we're giant, but they aren't. We're just like on that upper scale of really tall. They're still 6'7" and above that. That's when life gets miserable. I have a cousin who's 6'9", and he's got like a hunching thing. So when he stands, he's not that tall. And it's weird that I'm getting taller than him because of his posture. You have to be 6 foot to be a real man. It always cracks me up. Have you guys ever seen those posts on social media? It's like her. He's got to make 6 figures, have a house, have no kids, and be over 6 feet tall. And then, all that shit. I'm glad that women like tall guys, but if you're not that tall, it doesn't mean you're any less. You can ride roller coasters better. You're more comfortable in a car. You can go to a store and buy clothes that'll fit you. Now, I can too. That's not a problem. But like shoes, I either got to go to a specialty store or just order them online. Because going into your average, like, Shoe Carnival or Foot Locker or something, I'm not going to find my shoes at all. Like, I need a 15. Stress shoes, you got to go to DXL. That's what I got to say. You 6-footers are gods. Just admit it. I can't, man. I can't. But you know the truth. I wish Jack Kirby drew better looking women. I agree. Jack Kirby's women were kind of ugly. They had the really big cheekbones and the big eyes. And that's why I like John Romita's art, because his women are attractive. They flow. I think Kirby probably draws the ugliest women. And like Sue Storm, it was the 60s. I'm not here to knock it, but here, I got this Jack Kirby book. Let's pull this out real quick. Let's find an attractive lady if we can. Hi, Light. And folks, I just want to let you know, next week and moving forward, Good Morning Pop Culture will be a little more structured. We'll treat it like a show. I'm just kind of getting my my Good Morning Pop Culture feet back. They're getting them wet. Okay, so here we go. Here's some Jack Kirby ladies. Taste is subjective. Beauty is subjective. I don't particularly like these ladies, especially the blonde one. I don't think she's that sexy. Then again, we're not trying to judge that. But this is an Eternals book. And this is Jack Kirby in the 70s after he had returned back. I think what happens in a lot of art is you get inkers. Is this Mike Royer on this book? Yep, it is. Okay. You get people who are really, like, you want to follow the penciler's lines. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes these guys can embellish and do a little more. And I'm sorry, the picture of the thing threw me off. And I think Jack Kirby's women, when like Joe Sinnott or somebody would go and kind of beautify the women, I think it works better. Mike Deodato draws a great woman's chest. Yeah, Mike Deodato's a solid artist. I got respect for the dude. He's very talented. He's not my favorite. When he picks up Spider-Man from Romita Jr., I do feel like it gets more photorealistic, but it loses a lot of that action and kinetic style. And it's just the way he works. But I like him. I think he's very talented. Oh, man. This has been going by fast. I can't believe we're already through the first hour of Good Morning Pop Culture. This week has been so crazy, though, folks. I mean, besides last Saturday, you had all that, which we're not going to talk about. You've heard enough of it. We had celebrities pass away. Bob Newhart passed away. He was 94 years old. We had the Acolyte end. It was terrible. We had the Boys end, which is pretty bad, too. I can't believe how political they went to a fault. And I get it. Oh, Boys has always been political. Let me rephrase that. Don't question my intelligence. I'm not fucking stupid. I know exactly what you're going for with this show. And I've been on board with it because you're trying to do something different. But then you kind of just swerved into the very predictable, oh, we're going there. And everything else does that. And when everything does everything, you're kind of tired of it. It loses its uniqueness, its originality. The Boys, it's now just gore for the sake of gore, sex for the sake of sex, cringe for the sake of cringe, and politics for the sake of politics. And I really don't care. I don't think any writer out in Hollywood is as smart as they think they are. These producers, these writers, these directors, you get where you go, or you get where you get to for many reasons, talent being a part of it. But it's also who you know, how you interact with those people. You get in with people. That's kind of how these things work. I think it should be more based on merit. And also, too, I think The Boys is kind of past its prime. There's really not a lot of hype going into season 5 now. Soup genocide, whoop-de-doo. Presidential assassination episodes, bad timing. Really cringy when you break it down like that. You know, Jason, interacting with women that only date guys that are 6 foot and up is kind of funny to me, but it never bothers me. I mean, there we go. Now, if my dream woman is like, I only date men who are 7 feet tall, then I'm screwed because I'll put on some risers. I can make myself 7 feet tall. I wouldn't want to. You know, I got to check out more of Bob Newhart's stuff. Newhart was always a show that was on after something I wanted to watch. And much like MASH, it was like, oh, it's time to go to bed. MASH is on. Oh, it's time to change the channel. Bob Newhart's on. I was a little kid watching reruns. I didn't really get that. As a kid, if I was watching old sitcoms, I was watching like The Brady Bunch or eventually All in the Family or The Jeffersons. I like all kinds of TV. Every decade has shows I enjoy. We can go back to My Mother the Car from, was it the 60s? Or My Mother the Car the 50s. It's a real show. Mr. Ed's from the 50s. Mr. Ed's what it is. I love The Twilight Zone and Perry Mason from the 50s. And, moving forward, we got the 70s TV shows, 80s TV shows are great, like Miami Vice. In the 90s, you have some great sitcoms. I'm working on a video about the sitcom TV dad and the decline of masculinity and entertainment. Yeah, folks, we're going to go with some real serious, introspective, deeper stuff. We have a lot of fun with it. I think this topic of ladies in the chat talking about 6 feet tall and up, that's really sparking a lot of interest. Folks, when we do the Book of Booty, we'll do a poll. Are you a boob or butt man? We'll see how that poll is responded to. That should be a lot of fun. TJ Hooker was the bomb. Yeah. William Shatner's cool in everything he does. We also have All in the Family is great. So is Miami Vice. Miami Vice is my favorite. I hate Funko Pops, but I did buy Crockett and Tubbs. They're over there next to my Jack Kirby action figure from the Ninja Turtles. I got Axel Foley on the shelf from the Funko Pop. There's just sometimes you got to do that. Yeah, I've noticed that you guys will gravitate towards the longer form, more well thought out stuff, and I'm gonna, restructure and do a lot of stuff like that. It's also what I'm interested in because, being a talking head is what it is. But just reporting on an article and this and that, it's good. It's important to talk about these things. Because when people know about it, they can form their own opinion. Oh, this show's influenced by that, or hey, Twisters doesn't have any climate issues. You guys should know about that because so many modern movies want to beat you over the head with a message. This one doesn't. Like, I'm not paid by Warner Brothers at all, but I like Twisters. I would recommend everybody in the chat go check it out, even if you don't like the original one, because I didn't. It's just a good-looking movie about tornadoes. And it's fun. It's like it's when you watch a summer blockbuster, do you really talk about the deeper meanings? Like Jaws has deeper stuff. Independence Day can be reviewed from a different lens or with a different lens. But a lot of these disaster movies that make money are just big, dumb disaster movies. If this had a climate control or a climate change message, it would be The Day After Tomorrow, and that one sucks. But it doesn't. It's just a fun movie about tornadoes, and the characters are really solid. I'm 6'2". A 5'10" out of my league girl dated me solely because she wanted to feel shorter. Her words, not mine. Well, supermodels of the world, ladies, if you're 6 feet tall and you want to be with a guy that makes you feel tiny, date me. I'm here. I'm fun. I can throw you around. That's all you need in a movie is entertainment. That's all I want out of anything is entertainment. Like, I make you this guarantee, folks, when I put work out there, I don't beat you over the head with a message outside of like, hey, everybody, ELE, everybody love everybody type of shit. And not this hippy dippy over the rainbow garbage that other people want to make, but just in a realistic way. Like in Wokebusters, they do fight these outrage monsters, but they're kind of like how the Ghostbusters fight ghosts. They do it, but there's another narrative. Like the real villain of Ghostbusters is Zool and Walter Peck. And we have a Walter Peck style organization who's trying to take down the Wokebusters from the inside. But I don't, when at the end, when all the people are like, we really like you and what you do and this and that, it's not some kind of statement about, tearing down the system or, blame white people or some crap like that. I hate that kind of garbage. This is like one of those anti all of that crap book. I got to turn off the chat sometimes or at least stop looking at it because every time something pops up, I go, ooh, what are you guys saying? And I'm trying to respond to that. I want to go back to it in just a second. I guess I'm having my shiny squirrel ADD moment. Ooh, the chat. Ooh, the chat. Ooh, the chat. Folks, this weekend, like I told you, we are going to have our WCBS telethon. You can call in. The number for Wokebusters is real. You will be greeted with a voice message from me talking about a monster we're fighting. And then you can learn a little more about the book. I had this number set up, but I put it out now. I'm trying to really get people talking about Woke Busters. We're going to cross that goal. I know we're not even halfway there yet, but the last couple of days, people have really, really, really responded to it. And we're going to keep pushing forward. And I'm going to get that book to you guys. As soon as the campaign closes, it takes 21 days to get the funds from Kickstarter. And I already have my stuff lined up to get the book ordered. So the day that arrives is the day I will order those books. And I will keep you updated each and every day. Well, I'll keep you updated every few days on the Kickstarter. I'll update you every time we go live if you want. Full transparency. Once everything gets finalized and they send me the physical proof, it goes into production. There's nothing to report on. We can talk about it. I can remind you that the books are being printed, and then I'll let you know when they get shipped to me. But I'm going to go crazy. Like our friend in the chat, Kevin, he bought a copy of Stealing Solo last night on the podcast. And I thought, let's fulfill his book on air right there. So within 8 minutes, his order came in and his order went out. And now it's going out with the mail as soon as I leave in just a moment. It was a quick turnaround time. The way I'm going to fulfill Woke Busters is I'm going to get all the books in. I'm going to sit down and sign all the ones that need to be signed, get all the limited edition numbered stickers in those books to let you guys know that they are, super rare and super first edition. And then I'm going to go ahead and fulfill all these books just in a day or so. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get the boards and bags and the mailers and everything, and boom, 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 get it out to you quickly. Because with Stealing Solo, those books go out quick. And with Woke Busters, I'm going to have the books continue to go out quick. It may have taken me 3 years to make that, but it's only going to take me, I want to say 3 days to fulfill it. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to film it all for you guys to watch along with me. Let's get involved and have some fun together. Now we'll look back at the chat. With your height, did you ever dress as a Wookiee for Halloween? When I was 6 years old, no, not 6. When I was 7 or 8, I was Luke Skywalker for Halloween. That was the only time I was ever a Star Wars character, ever. In the 8th grade, I was Ronald Reagan for Halloween. I went to a dollar store and they had a Ronald Reagan mask, and kind of like the one in Point Break. And my mom bought it for me because she thought it was funny. And I used to wear it out. I would wear it in the car, and people would look at me because it looked real. And people were like, who is that old guy? They could recognize it, but they couldn't place that it was a Ronald Reagan mask. But no, I've never dressed as a Wookiee. I've never dressed as Darth Vader. My Halloween costumes before Power Rangers, I don't remember. And I was the White Ranger, but I didn't go out that next Halloween because I wanted to watch Batman Forever. The next year, I was Luke Skywalker. That was 96. 97, 8, and 9, I was Indiana Jones. Actually, I was Indiana Jones from 1997 to 2003. Then one year, I was The Rock. And then I bought a Michael Myers costume, and I dressed up as him until the mask deteriorated. And then I really haven't bought many costumes anymore. When I go to a Halloween party, I will wear my Axel Foley jacket, and that'll be exactly what's up. Jeff should date that gamer chick, Jackie Jing. Hold on a second. Is that who I think it is? She used to be a newscaster here in town. I'm positive of it. This woman, she was on Fox 19 for many years, or felt for many years. But yeah, 2014 is when she left. Oh, never mind. She was only on for 9 months. That's what I'm reading about. But I definitely remember her. It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, here she is on Fox 19 with Rob Williams. It's funny how people pop up locally here in Cincinnati. All right, we have a super chat. Our first one of the morning. Gola82 says, time to check freight and listen to Good Morning Pop Culture. Well, thank you, sir, for keeping the show alive, supporting the channel. We appreciate you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now I'm just laughing about the whole Jackie Jing comment. My friend even knew her. He worked at Fox 19 as a, not a producer. He was just a behind the scenes guy. Let's see. I made a Spider-Man costume when I was a kid and pranked my friend. Dad kicked my backside over that. But how could you scare somebody being Spider-Man? He's a hero. I believe there's a hero in all of us. I agree. If you make a costume, you should be praised for creativity. I think creativity is a spark that should never be diminished, but you have to be careful because if enough people pour water on that flame, it won't reignite. And that can happen at an early age. You can demoralize somebody. You know, if you have a kid that's into art, push it. There's no negative that comes from art. Yes, you can turn it into a job like I have. You can turn it into another sideline business, even if you do other things. But there's no downside to art. It expands your mind. It helps you explore things. You know, I look at things differently now. Also, since I know the production side and the technical stuff, I look at this WrestleMania Cup and I just think of what the Photoshop file would look like. You know, all the different layers for each wrestler. Because, you know, that is what it is. Let's see. I can see you as The Rock with the eyebrow move. Yeah, I can do that. I really did love The Rock as a kid. I'm not exaggerating. Every Thursday night, my mom and I would watch SmackDown. We smelled what The Rock was cooking at our house. Like, put it like this. As soon as when I got into it and it became my primary thing, my whole week built to Thursday night. We had the internet, and so what I would do is on Mondays, Tuesday mornings, I'd read what happened on Raw. Then I would think about it all day in school. Then I would play my SmackDown game every day until Thursday when I would watch SmackDown. And then over the weekend, I'd play SmackDown the game and reenact some of the matches that were on TV. I'd play with my action figures. I had T-shirts. There wasn't a Wikipedia or a source to read the history of a ton of pay-per-views, but I would consume as much as I could wrestling-wise each and every day. It was kind of my jam. And then when Spider-Man came out, that movie, I still kept my wrestling love, but then my love of comics kind of superseded that, mainly because The Rock left. But more in line, because comic books were slightly more intellectual, like the production of it, the writing. When I say I'm into comics, I don't just mean like I like to read them. I like to read about how they're made. It's funny, Adrian. I can use that to my benefit with ladies. People think I'm related to The Rock when I go out. I wore my Rock sunglasses and had my $500 shirt on at WrestleMania, so that was fun. Breathing in the electricity. And that's why I have sideburns, because I do like The Rock. But also, I can't grow a normal beard. I grew one during the pandemic, and it was weird. I'll share a picture of it one day if you want to see it. It's nothing special. It's just me with a fucking beard. The reason I shaved my beard is because the hair would get long, and I'd be like eating. I'd be like, I can feel that as I'm eating. So no beards for me. Sorry, folks. This is as far as I'll go. But I will get a fake mustache for some of our skits we're going to do in the future. Would I wrestle Andre the Giant? I have a sneaking suspicion if I were to wrestle Andre the Giant right now, I would win. I would win. Tell women you're related to The Rock. Cha-ching. Yeah, but then they're just going to try to like get closer to him or like ask for money. I do leave it openly vague because I told this story on the show. The Rock had a cousin named Rosie who was a wrestler. He wrestled as, Rosie. That wasn't his real name. His real name escapes me. But the point is, his ex-wife mistook me for one of their Samoan family members. If there is ever like an Anawai family reunion, and I can find out where it is, I would try to sneak in because I'm sure people would look at me and then kind of just be like, oh, he must be related to us somehow. They wouldn't ask too many questions. That's it. I think that would be hilarious. Maybe I'll write a story. I won't turn it into a comic because it would take too much time. But like Jeff infiltrates the Anawai family reunion. Modalicious, what is up? Nobody makes a better hype man than Hulk Hogan. He was a headliner. Listen up, brother. I do like Hulk Hogan, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's not a political statement to say Hulk Hogan still is cool. If I ever met him, I'd be looking like this the whole time, geeking out. That would be me. I'm like, oh my God, it's Hulk Hogan. Cool. I hate the movie Grown Ups, but it has the best line in any Adam Sandler movie. They talk about how Adam Sandler's represented all these big names, these big celebrities, and the guy goes, have you represented Hulk Hogan? And it's just like, it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters if you haven't represented Hulk Hogan. So I love that. But yeah, Modalicious, it gets me pumped. It doesn't get me pumped to vote. It just gets me excited that Hulk Hogan's still relevant and that he is a part of popular culture forever. See, that's the difference between a guy like Hulk Hogan and a guy like Roman Reigns or other generational superstars. Hulk Hogan was not only the biggest wrestler of the 80s, he was a pop culture icon who stood alongside people like Eddie Murphy, Michael Jackson, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hulk Hogan was in the same conversation. Same thing with The Rock. Before he was a big actor, The Rock, the wrestler, was on TV shows. He was part of popular culture. He'd show up on TV. You catch him on The View. You catch him on not TMZ, TRL. Rock would show up on Star Trek. He was a bigger deal than Stone Cold as a wrestler. I know Stone Cold sold more t-shirts and may have had got a bigger cut of the gate or this and that, but the numbers don't lie. 2000 was one of the WWF's biggest years ever, and the Stone Cold Steve Austin train was gone. It was all the Rock show at that point. Stone Cold was injured. Do I ever get asked, have I seen you in something? A lot of people look at me and go like, where do I know you from? Especially when I lived out west. A lot of people thought I was, but here's the thing. They thought I was me because a lot of people like, they would look at me and think, don't I know you? And I'd be like, you watch YouTube? And they go, yeah. And then it was that. So I have had that happen quite a bit, but it's never, are you The Rock or are you this or that? It's like, oh, I know you from somewhere because they watch. So that was pretty cool. The Rock was also suited on the Hollywood side more than Stone Cold. I agree. Stone Cold wasn't as marketable. The whole everyman gimmick really just works in wrestling. But the wrestling journalist narrative and the WWE's narrative really are what pushed Stone Cold more than anything else. He's great. He's huge. He's a big star. He was the biggest up through mid-99, and then he shared that spot like The Rock. Then when he went away and got injured, Stone Cold never took that number one spot again. Motorlicious, thank you again for another super chat. I don't think it's controversial to say I scrolled through the conversation just to see Hogan. First chord of his theme song and 5 years old again. Yeah, I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. I shit you not. Every 4th of July, including this year, I wake up and I play that song. And then I do the little guitar like he does. They got a real American figure out right now. Him playing his guitar. I'm going to go buy that as soon as I find it. I thought Hulk Hogan was going to get canceled after the sex tape leaked and all the stuff he had said in it. And he bounced back. And so there's an entire group of people that are always going to hate him. But then there's always going to be a group of people that can separate the real guy from the character Hulk Hogan. And like most of you, I hear real American, I get pumped. I wasn't even alive when Hulk Hogan was I wasn't born until WrestleMania 5. I was born in 88, but at the end of it. So WrestleMania 5 was the first one I'd have been alive for. So we're talking Hogan Macho Man. But a lot of that early Hulkamania wasn't part of my life. And then when I started watching wrestling as a little kid, when my uncle tried to get me into it, Hogan wasn't around much. So when Hulk Hogan would show up, I'd try to watch it, but he wasn't there. So I didn't get into it. But I did check out WCW back in the day for the NWO and Hulk Hogan. He was the man. Big Top 84, thank you very much for your very generous super chat. Hey, yo, what's your favorite finisher in wrestling? Mine are the Razor's Edge, F5, and the classic choke slam. Okay, so I won't say the People's Elbow because I acknowledge how dumb it is, but I love the People's Elbow. It's so obnoxiously long and elaborate. I like Stone Cold Stunner. I think it's a great finisher. I enjoy the Pedigree. That's a good finisher. Rob Van Dam's Frog Splash and Eddie Guerrero's Frog Splashes are great. The Angle Slam is interesting as well because of the way you can hit it. I like Sweet Chin Music, but all these other wrestlers of the modern era have kind of ruined it. So, like the Young Bucks, every 55 super kicks they do, for every super kick one of these indie wrestlers steals, Shawn Michaels loses another strand of hair. That's why he's as bald as he is today, folks. Shawn Michaels was directly impacted by the theft of the super kick. There we go. The RKO. That's up there too. I love Randy Orton. I met him. He was nice to me. I know he's got a reputation for being a dick, but I did this painting of him and he was like really like, he wasn't, I won't say impressed, but he was very like honored because somebody took all this time to do a piece of art for him. And I think he likes fan art because I've seen him interact with other pieces of fan art before, but he was nice to me. He got up, he shook my hand, told me like, hey man, let's take a photo. He hugged my mom and my aunt. Like he was cool as shit to us. That's why I always sing Randy Orton's praises. And the RKO was awesome. You could hit it out of nowhere and then throw up your arms. Hey! And Randy Orton, I need to get some more Randy Orton figures on my shelf. Currently, I don't have any from Mattel. I only like Legend Killer Randy Orton in like merchandise, but I like Randy Orton as a wrestler across the board. So let me give you my top finishers. The RKO does make the tops, does make it into the top 3. People's Elbow is a personal favorite. And then are we going to say I'm going to go the pedigree because it's different. Like, I don't think of too many moves where you just put someone's head between your knees and just jump down and they slam their face into the mat. That'll take you out, man. You can lose teeth. You can break your neck. The pedigree is deadly. So, also, I got respect for Triple H. I used to hate Triple H, but as he's taken over for wrestling, I've realized how good he is for pro wrestling. And so, nothing but respect for Paul Levesque. It's good. I'm going to watch Smack. Well, no, I'm going to an independent wrestling show. So, folks, I'm friends with a lot of wrestlers. One guy I know is in the NWA. His name's Carson Drake. Check him out. He's cool. But I know quite a few independent wrestlers, and it was never my dream to be a wrestler like you would think. I'm not soft or weak, but my dream was to do comics. I played football. I played varsity football at a really good high school. The same Kyle Rudolph, the guy that made it into the NFL, played in. My heart was in the art room. I got a football scholarship. They let me keep it. I didn't want to play. That was kind of cool. They let me keep it. But my point was, art has always been my thing. I could have been a big physical guy. Maybe part of me thinks that I missed my calling. No, because I'm finally getting into the groove of how to do this. And I don't mean just how to draw. I can do the whole production. I need just an idea because I can write it. I can draw it. I can ink it. I can't color it, so we'll get somebody else to color it. But then I can do all the rest if I want to. I don't want to letter it. But the production side, I know how to do the print files. I know all of the behind the scenes stuff. I can be my own printing company. And that's something I take great pride in because this is my dream, to do comics. I love them. I love to draw. I like to see how people react to my stuff too. I do a lot of bright and colorful stuff because I find, and I don't mean that like just tonally, but like kids like my books. I don't know why. Stealing Solo is all ages can read it. It's really not something a kid would understand or be interested in. But I do like bright colors and big, certain types of characters and figures, and that's why Wokebusters looks the way it does too. Avocado Molotov, you might be late, but you know what? Now the show has officially started with you, my friend. Now, folks, we have about 8 minutes left in the show. So today's got to be a a strict cutoff time because I got to take my mom to the doctor. I got to pick her up at noon. So that is that. But I will be back tomorrow morning for the Wokebusters telethon. I need to hit that number. We all got to hit that number, but we're going to do it. It's been moving up. I can't be negative about it or get scared or act weird because things pick up. We're one of those things where it's like, it'll go slow and then boom, everyone's like, oh, I got to get this. And we got support of great people. I don't take anybody for granted. And the fact that we got people backing it on air, people sending in money just to back it, like you can even just become a founder, because I am going to call the company Renaissance Comics because I write, I draw, I do it all. I'm the modern day Renaissance man in comics. And I have a website. I have the domain. And in a few weeks, we're going to build the website after we cross our goal. And then there will be founders. You can be a founder for just a couple bucks and you will always remain on the website. You can pick how you want to be named. You can have it be a fake name as long as it's not like, we have a weird rule. Like you can pretty much say anything you want here. Just no slurs. That's not cool. If you want to call somebody an asshole, more power to you. But that's it. I'm getting off my soapbox. But be a founder. Your name will be in the back of the book. Your name will be on the website forever. And you'll get, you'll be a part of something big. You'll have that satisfaction. Oh, I helped that guy. They just made a movie of his book. Maybe when, Stealing Solo gets made or the Wokebusters or whatever we do, we might have a premiere for our founders. Like, you know what, guys? This has been so successful. Let's give it back. Let's thank you guys. That's just how I like to operate. It's a lot of fun that we get to do this together. You make comics less, I won't say boring, but you got to remember, it's just me sitting here. Like, I got my iPad and I get my big Todd McFarlane book because I use it as a drawing board and I put it on the desk with an angle and I just sit and I work. I'll put on a video. I'll listen to music, but it's kind of fun doing it together that way. I don't love Kevin Owens having the stunner. I like Kevin Owens. I think he's solid, but that's Stone Cold's move. So the stunner should always be that. The rock bottom, the Uranagi that Becky Lynch uses, I'm not a fan of that. Scott Spicy Wiener Reserve. Hey, that's your name. I'll try to remember you as Scott Spicy Wiener the show from now on. Donut Lord, yes, we did talk about Hulk Hogan at the RNC. When I talk about certain things that happen, I'm not going to use this as a jumping off point to give you my political point of view. My point of view is like, I like people. I let their actions dictate how I feel about them. I don't, their politics are very low down the totem pole. Now, personally, there are certain things I keep myself away from because it's just no good. Extreme on either side, but like crazy nut bar feminists, no thanks. There you go. That's there. I'll remove the curtain a bit. Where does Jeff keep himself away from? That kind of shit. No thanks. I have never heard of Tartaria. What is it? The OG game guy? Do I like Jey Uso? I don't dislike Jey Uso. What I like is I liked the Usos as a tag team. I loved Rikishi back in the day. The Usos they're Samoan dudes trying to be hood black guys, and I always kind of roll my eyes at that. I'm just like, all right, fine. It is what it is. It works for them. People like the gimmick. But, I'm not a main event Jey Uso guy or a Jimmy Uso guy. Like, the best Samoan wrestler is this one right here, not Becky Lynch, that guy. Don't dislike him, man. I don't want to sound like I'm overly positive about everything. I can give you hard stances. Like, I don't like John Cena. I think he fucking blows at all. Or completely. I don't think he's good at all. I don't think he has any benefit. He's gotten better since 2015, but from 07 to 2014, he really ruined wrestling. And Vince McMahon lowered the bar to make Cena look good because he sold t-shirts and action figures. And I just don't like him. Tartaria is a BS conspiracy theory. Laura Lodge has some videos debunking it. Oh, I thought it was like a comic or something, or like a game. I didn't even know what it was. When you're like Tartaria, I was like, that just sounds like a fantasy book. And I usually sound pretty close-minded about fantasy, but I want to give it a chance. Becky Lynch is not a giant Samoan. I met her once. She's not a giant Samoan. We were on an airplane to WrestleMania 31. It was me and my friends. We were flying from Cleveland to Texas to WrestleMania and San Francisco. Yeah, that was San Francisco. And I'm on the flight talking to this guy, and this woman's like, you're listening to us talk about wrestling. She goes, are you into what? She's like, what do you think of Becky Lynch? And I didn't really look over. I was like, oh, she's cool. She's cool. It was Becky Lynch. And I didn't realize it until I got off the flight. And then there she goes, and Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and Bayley. Yeah, all of them were there. Norman Smiley. Was Laurinaitis on that plane? No. Maybe. It was all the NXT people because it was down, Florida to Texas to California. That's how you usually fly. Becky and Seth seem like huge narcissists. No shade. I don't like Seth Rollins. He's a fine wrestler. I can tolerate him, but he's not. What does he do that's great? His gimmick is he's an eccentric weirdo. He's mildly gay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what the fuck? Like, what is his gimmick? He comes out and he wears stupid crap and he goes like, oh. At least LA Knight's cool. Like, he's got some swagger to him. He's like the Rock and Stone Cold mixed from back in the day and came to the modern age. I like catchphrases. He's a wrestler. Like, that's what I think of when I think pro wrestler. Gimmick, catchphrase, moves, the pose, everything. He's got it all. Seth Rollins is just kind of a jabroni. And him trying to get involved with the WrestleMania main event, you got put in your place. I know he was injured and he couldn't do much, but in the grand scheme of wrestling, he is not anybody's Mount Rushmore. If you're going to be respectable, he's very talented. He's good at what he does. He deserves to have the job he has. But he's not The Rock. He's not John Cena. He's not Randy Orton. He's not even Roman Reigns, who I don't like at all. Man, do I not like Roman Reigns. But he is better than Seth Rollins in every way. I'm getting into the Mattel retro figures. I like the way they look. I'm buying the LJN Classics line too. Hold on a second. Do you mean like, let's see. Let's pull this off the wall. And you know what? Since we're on topic today for our last couple of minutes, like 2, here we are. You mean like these retro style ones that look like He-Man figures? We got The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan, brother. I got Hulk Hogan because he was on sale at Ollie's along with Ric Flair, but I bought a bunch, 2 of these because it's The Rock. I was like, shit, I got to get my Rock figure. And also 2, The Rock only wore this once, and they've never made a figure of The Rock in the cow vest. This is from the night after Backlash 2000, and Backlash 2000 is my favorite main event of all time, Rock versus Triple H for the title. Stone Cold comes. It's what WrestleMania should have been. You want to get me on a goddamn tangent? WrestleMania 2000 is a terrible WrestleMania. You have 2000 is the greatest year in history. The 2000 Rumble is great. No Way Out is a pretty good show. Backlash is great. Judgment Day is great. King of the Ring is good. Fully Loaded is great. That's a fucking underrepresented pay-per-view. Fully Loaded 2000, great. Triple main event. Rock and Benoit, Triple H and Jericho, Angle and Undertaker. All awesome matches. Then you got Rikishi and Val Venus in a cage match where Rikishi, who weighs 400 pounds, jumps off the top of the cage. That was great. Then what's next? SummerSlam 2000, TLC, awesome. Main event, awesome. Shane McMahon, Steve Blackman, awesome. Unforgiven, solid main event. No Mercy 2000. Don't like that one for personal reasons. The Rock loses the title. That's 12-year-old me being bitter. Survivor Series 2000, pretty cool. And Armageddon 2000. The Hell in a Cell match that people go on about. And then it keeps picking up with WrestleMania 2000. WrestleMania 2000 sucks. The game's good, but that's it. Is Randy Orton related to Cowboy Bob Orton? Are you trolling me? Because it's his dad. That's a father-son duo, man. Cowboy Bob Orton used to show up to help Randy back in the day. Well, how do I feel about the Shake, Rattle, and Roll and the DDT? I like Jake the Snake Roberts. I met him once. He was very friendly. He called me brother. That's all I needed to hear. He was great. Chyna was great. The only dicky wrestler I've ever met was CM Punk. It is what it is. LJN style from the WWE Classics line. Those are the superstars. I like those. Oh, okay. I'll have to look into what you're talking about. I have the old Hasbro style ones, like where they, like The Rock will lift his arms up and you. Oh, it's an action feature. It is that. Have you noticed, folks? I didn't say it is what it is today. I'm not counting that one because I'm just telling you about it. But I actively cut that one out. So now, folks, I am currently putting on a pair of socks, and I'm going to put on a pair of shoes, and then I'm going to head out in just a moment. So I feel like Mr. Rogers right now. Won't you be my neighbor? If you were my neighbor, you would hear me play Axel F every morning. That new version is awesome. When I was driving back, I played it. I was jamming out to it. When I drove by the Superman set, I was jamming out to it. I like to think that somewhere, like somebody on set was like, why do I hear the Beverly Hills Cop music? That is one of my personal goals, is to get people that know me to associate that song with me. And it's worked. Dion's wife has an alarm set to take her medicine, and she uses Axel F. And she's like, I think of you every time I hear it. So there you go. People do associate that song with me, and it makes me happy. That OG Game Guy, you should go back and watch some old wrestling. That is the only reason that I keep Peacock. Not that 70s show, not any of that stuff. I like wrestling. And right now in my personal life, I am watching all the old SummerSlams. I just watched SummerSlam 99 as I was cleaning up the office, going through some stuff. And I found a lot of these comic book books I'm going to share with you soon. But guys, it is time for me to go. But you can join me tomorrow. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us this morning. I'd like to thank all of our members like Death the Goat, Donut Lord, John Thomas, and many more. I'd also like to thank all the super chatters this morning. We have Gola82, Modalicious twice, and Big Top 84 with the big super chat of the day. I'd like to tell you thanks to everybody, folks. It's always a blast, and you make me feel loved here on Good Morning Pop Culture. Let's get this thing rolling. We got about 200 people watching today. We had about 300 people watching on Wednesday. So let's spread the word. Maybe next week, or at least the week after for sure, I will go broadcast from Kings Island. I have a pass. We'll go around the park. I'll take you around with me when we do some Good Morning Pop Culture stuff. That'll be the kind of show where there are no topics. It's me on location. You can say, hey, Jeff, go have fun. Go. Certain rides I can't ride because I'm too tall. But I will go out and I will eat a funnel cake or do shit, try stuff, review things. We'll go through the park and we'll have fun. We'll fit it in this nice window of Good Morning Pop Culture. We are the epitome of pop culture after all. So let's get the watch on and get this show on the road. As we hit 200, darn, as we hit our peak number right now, it's time to go. Folks, thank you. I wish we could go 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. That's the beauty of tomorrow. We can go as long as you want. If we stream for 12 hours straight, I'll do it. Tomorrow, I have it blocked off to stream. So you guys join me Send in your messages. We'll talk about whatever you want. We'll have some segments. You can call in. I will play all the voicemails and read those, and more. So, folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more. In the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Don't you just hate wokeness and the toll it takes on society? Well, bust it with Wokebusters. Set in a world where outrage turns people into literal monsters, Wokebusters follows the 4 men who step up to save society from itself. It's funny, colorful, and action-packed. This 100-page epic is only available on Kickstarter for a limited time. So